All right, here we go. So ani bojo kinuia. Nodin, Nijnakaz, Wukwem Kong, Minawa, Swakamak, and Donjiba, Anishinaabe, a king and Donji, Namedo Dam, Anishinaabe and Dao, Kinamagi and Minawa, Shkibewis and Dao, Nsimadana, Ashe Bejik, and Diso Bebonwe. Yeah, so that's a little bit about myself. I just introduced myself in my dialect of Anishinaabe Moen. I speak kind of Odawa, Ojibwe dialect. So my name is Josh Lewis. My spirit name is Nodin, which means wind. My family comes from Wukwemkong First Nation, but I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, also known as Niswakmak. I live here now on unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin territory. I've lived here for the last 6 years. I'm an educator. I'm also a helper in the community, and I'm 31 winters old. So that's kind of what I said in my intro. And I'm also one of the co-CEOs of Assembly of Seven Generations. And so we're kind of hosting this webinar tonight in partnership with Taking It Global in the Create to Learn program. And our theme tonight is Grassroots Language Revitalization. And so we're hoping to talk with some folks that are doing some pretty groundbreaking work in their communities and kind of just learn from one another and how to do this language revitalization in a good way. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. Within A7G, we do a language drop-in every Thursday. It's like a weekly thing that we've been doing for the last year and a half. And it started off with one of the youth that would join us every Friday. They shared that they wanted to learn their Mashomis or their Papa's language. And so through the help of A7G, we decided to do that. And so we used to meet at the Sugar Shack in Vanier, and we would just learn Anishinaabe words. And then we started working with the school board for a little bit. And then now we came into this time of COVID. And from there, we started just doing online sessions. And we've been able to connect with folks all over Turtle Island that are interested in learning Anishinaabe. So it's been really cool. So I think for us, we're just learning slowly. And the cool thing right now, in the sessions we're doing right now, my Nokomis, who is a retired language teacher, has been joining us every Thursday, and she kind of helps us as we're learning together. So, if we're learning how to put together a sentence, she's kind of there to help us along and correct us, and in a good way though, not to say anything bad about what we're doing, but just kind of to make sure that we're doing it, and teaching us along the way. So it's been really fun. And for us, it's I think having that language part of our every day or every week, I think the ability to retain is there. And so for me, when I hear speakers now, I can pick up on these words here and there, and I just feel a little bit more confident in reading it and hearing it. So that's what we do at A7G. And so that's I just wanted to start us off in that way, because it's grassroots what we do. We don't really have any funding to do that. We just kind of come together and we're we want to learn language. And so we're doing that. And so I kind of wanted to pass it over to the speakers we have. So we have invited some really deadly speakers from different parts of Turtle Island and different languages as well. And I think that's really important, because we're all trying to learn different ways and have different ways of doing things. And so we have with us tonight Stephanie Tenasco, we have Skye Durocher, and we have Takawgak and William Komaksiutiksak. And the four of them are going to share a bit about what they do, but I want them to kind of introduce themselves now. And so I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie to start us off. So miigwech.
Hey, kakina Stephanie Tenasco and Indigenous Kitigan Zibi Algonquin. Hi, my name is Stephanie. I am from Kitigan Zibi. I work in the Algonquin language out of our cultural center here on the reserve. And I've been working in the school sector for about 17 years. And recently, about 3 years ago, I switched over to the language revitalization. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing for the last, hang on. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So what I do for the language is I try to appeal to the younger generation as much as possible, and we had I guess back in the 70s, before my time, we had a group of people come together to say we would like to preserve our language and start writing it down and start recording it. And so most of those people now have passed on, so that kind of leaves just a few of us here to pass that on. So what I try to do now is take all the material that we do have and put it more digitally and kind of get it out there that way, and to appeal to the younger generation. And so yeah, that's kind of what I do. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Thanks, Stephanie. So what I'll do now is I'll pass it over to Skye.
Oh, hello. So Tante, Skye Natigas, and Bakjoan Zikotinia. My name is Skye Durocher. I'm from Fish and Lake, and as I said before, I speak Plains Y dialect, and I actually got my bachelor's degree in Cree language. That's how I started learning Cree. It wasn't just like I grew up and then, got taught Cree. I went to school for it, and being a non-fluent speaker going into an actual university course is pretty bad. It's pretty hard to do. But yeah, so what I do for Cree, it's all 100% volunteer work. I run a Cree Instagram page that I started about 2 years ago. And what it was is one of my instructors was just talking to us about making Cree more like social media friendly and how to go about that. So one of our assignments was just to create like some sort of social media or memes or whatever. So I ended up making a Cree social media called Cree Language Challenge, and it's on Instagram, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now. And I find Cree resources from everywhere I can. So it doesn't matter if it's like my dialect or like TH dialect and dialect. I try to share as much as I can, and people will send me stuff saying like, you should post this, or here's some free like stuff that you can post. And so I try to do as much research as I can when I can. I also work like 2 jobs. So this is just kind of stuff that I do like for fun, I guess. And then I also make Cree TikToks as well, just randomly. And it's mostly just of my dogs. Yeah, like there's like no like, I don't know. I guess I just really like language, and I just really want people to, especially young people, to access Cree more, because like when I was growing up, it was kind of like your mom spoke it, your dad spoke it, and if they didn't want you to know something, then they would speak Cree. So I'm trying to get like older people out of that habit of like trying to keep Cree to themselves, because that's very like gatekeeping, and then that's how we don't pass on language. And we're seeing that now, especially in our little communities. But like, I'm probably one of like the youngest speakers here that's probably more fluent than other people. And I had an elder once tell me like, how does it feel to know that like in like 20 years, you're probably going to be like one of the only Cree speakers in this community? And I was like, well, that's scary. And then they're like, well, you need to do a lot of work and like, make sure that like people become fluent. But it's like, that's not just my job. Like that's like how many of our jobs. So yeah, it's really interesting. And like, that's why I think I keep learning. So that's it for me.
You go ahead, Skye. I'll pass it over to Will and Barry.
Okay, unnuku kamanak takaga yung mitimatay na buminok ng mapelok sa'yo. Gusto nga Inuktitiut tinakama. I just said, my name is Barry Takawgak, and my Inuktitiut name is Kamanak, and I'm happy that I teach Inuktitiut.
Unuku Ubanga William Komaksiutiksak, also known as Northern Knowledge, Kanga Clinic Mutak Yunga. I just said, good evening, everybody. My name is William Komaksiutiksak, also known as Northern Knowledge. And originally I'm from Rankin Inlet, and that's in Nunavut. And both between Barry and myself, there's a few other members of our team, but we're not all here today. We're the founders of Strong Minded Inuit, or SMI. And basically, Strong Minded Inuit is a youth-led initiative. And what we do is we use music and the arts to help learn our language of Inuktitiut and Inuit culture. And one thing I'm really proud to say is ever since I met Barry, I've been able to speak my language. Barry's really taught pretty much 99% of what I know. And I'm excited to showcase a song with you guys today that Barry translated and taught me to pronounce. So, Kuyanamik, thank you.
Nick, miigwech. I think that's what tonight's all about. It's really about looking at language in a different way for the young people. Again, because A7G, we do things for the young people and for ourselves too, like as older young people, I guess, they're trying to reconnect, right? So I think it's really really amazing. So I did have a few questions for folks, and maybe we can just kind of go like I'll kind of go in order again, but I'll ask all the same question, and I know I'm going to get different responses because based on your community and things like that, the thing is it's all going to be different, but I think it's all really important. And but and some of you might have already answered this, but it's really like, why is language revitalization so important to you and also your community? And so some of you kind of already touched on that, but I was hoping maybe folks could elaborate a little bit more. So I'll pass it over to you, Stephanie. So again, why is language revitalization so important to you and your community?
Why I guess I can start by saying why I'm in this position. I think in this position of revitalizing language, you have to have you have to have heart. You have to use your heart, right? Because what I want to do is awaken awaken the language again. I am not fluent and I don't pretend to be. However, I do my best to use it. And that's what I do in my little videos and little songs and the way that everybody has gifts, and those gifts, I try to use my gifts as a way of presenting language. I do sing, I do cultural, I guess, crafts, arts and crafts. So I do use language in those ways. I don't hunt or anything like that. So those words I kind of don't know, that type of language. But revitalization, I wanna give young people that passion to want to learn, to want to be proud of themselves. My mom has always been working in the language. She was a teacher. She's a retired teacher now, and what she does is translation, and she works with me part-time. So without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. She is fluent as well as my dad was fluent. So they were able to communicate to each other. And I'm not sure who said a while ago, was it Heather, or I'm not sure who said they would use language, like kind of talking so I wouldn't understand, but I did, but I figured it out. But yeah, I think revitalization to me means I want to get the young people to want to learn, to want that passion, to be able to speak fluently and effortlessly, just like I am speaking English right now, to remember like who they are and where they came from, because without your without your language, like who are you? That's a part of you. That's it. Yeah. Miigwech.
Oh, miigwech. Yeah, I like that part about like the intergenerational learning. And so like for myself as well, like I've always learned from my aunties and my grandmother, my nokumis, and I think like that's how you learn, right? It's through your family, through like those kind of connections. So that really resonated with me. So miigwech for sharing that. I'll ask you the same question, Skye. Why is language revitalization so important to you and your community?
I think it's important because it's I want to say it's like the heart of who we are as Indigenous people. Like, you can't have language without having culture, without having all these things, right? It's like literally like this whole sense of like, I guess, like our being. And I feel like there is like something so powerful about like learning your language and being able to speak as much as you can, because then when you learn how to speak, then you learn how to do other stuff. Like maybe you get into culture, maybe you get into ceremony, something like that. But like all these things go hand in hand. And I think that is so important, especially with like all the intergenerational trauma, with all like the things that Indigenous people face now. Like I think like honestly, like our languages can really heal us and really just bring us back to where we were. Like, you know, I always say like there's no going back. Like we're not going to be able to like be on horses living on the land as much as like that would be great. But, you know, I feel like language is like the key, and culture is the key to why, like, to, I guess, to healing. So I think that's why it's important. I hope that that's also important to my community. I want to say it is, because like I think that a lot of healing needs to be done, and it can be done so much if we were able to, if people like reclaim their identity and reclaim like language, reclaim culture, and do all these things. That's it.
You go, Skye. I like what you said about the healing part. I think I can connect to that too, in the sense of like the worldview. I think for me, like understanding that Anishinaabe, for me, Anishinaabe helps me understand that worldview of my ancestors a bit more, and it's helped me on my healing journey. So I really appreciate you for bringing that part up. And lastly, I'll pass it over to Will and Barry. I'll ask you the same question. Like, why is language revitalization so important to you and your community?
We were going to stay in the pattern there, but I really connected with what Skye just said about healing. Like, so for me as an Inuk living in the city, I'm based in Ottawa. I've been living here for most of my life. As a kid, I was never really surrounded by other Inuit. I never knew how to speak Inuktitiut. I wasn't surrounded by the culture. And I like my family, we struggled a lot with intergenerational trauma too. Like, for example, my dad being a residential school survivor. And so I saw a lot of things in the home. We experienced like a lot of addictions. I witnessed it as a kid. And then as a teenager, I experienced it in my own journey. And I find that ever since I started connecting to my culture, and ever since I started taking the time to learn how to speak Inuktitut, that's really been a really good positive outlet for me to be able to move forward in a positive way. So I really connected with the healing and with the intergenerational trauma. Like, as a kid, I felt like I had a loss of identity, but I really feel like I've been finding myself the more that I've been learning about my culture. So really, that's what I had to say. So I'll pass over to Barry.
Okay. For me, revitalizing Inuktitut language, or my language, Inuktitut was my first language, and I moved to Ottawa about 5 years ago, and I never really had too many friends to connect with who were Inuit until like I started like going out more, and then I was able to connect with more Inuit, and then I realized that not a lot of them don't know too much about how to speak Inuktitut, and from there I thought maybe I want to teach Inuktitut, and I've been teaching Inuktitut and my culture as much as I can.
Much, Barry. Yeah, I resonate with that too, like the whole cultural piece, and even myself being urban Indigenous like my whole life, disconnected at times, but I think language has helped me kind of reconnect. So for me, like I know language has always kind of been around in my life because of my family, but there was a time where I think like I was taking courses even when I was in university, but I didn't really like, I wasn't really interested. I took the course, but I was like, that's cool. But I think at one point in my life, I guess just more on my healing journey, I started wanting to learn the language more and more. And so like, I think like within the last 6 years, I've really taken on that learning a little bit more importantly. I think it was when I started going to ceremony. Like I wanted to know what those elders were saying in the lodge, and I wanted to understand more what my Nokomis was saying. So that's kind of where it started for me. But I guess my question next is for everyone, but is like, what was that first like starting point for you to like want to start revitalizing language for yourself? And then, you know, obviously it continued on, but what was that like moment that kind of started that connection or that learning journey, I guess? Maybe I'll pass it over to Skye to answer that one. English.
All right, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so kind of like, how did you get started, I guess, is like my question. Like, what was that first like starting point for you to like start learning your language and that revitalization process?
I guess like I've always wanted to learn Cree because I'm nosy, and like I would hear people speak Cree all the time, and I was like, what they saying over there? They're talking about me. And then I was like, I gotta know what they're saying. But yeah, so that was like one of the things of like why I wanted to learn. Also, I was just like, I guess like for the longest time, like I felt like I was missing out on something, you know, and I felt like there was like this odd like piece of myself that wasn't there. And when I started learning Cree, I was like, oh, like that's so cool, because like for a very long time there was like excuses of like why I didn't learn. It was like, oh, it's because I'm not going to use it, or nobody my age speaks Cree, or you know, I don't know. That's just like, I don't go to ceremony, so I don't need to use it. But there came a point where like I used to hear Cree all the time as a kid in Fishing Lake. All the time. Like you'd go to any place, you would hear Cree all the time. And one day I was like, how come everybody's speaking English? And I realized it's because like a lot of our speakers were just like dying out, and like nobody was passing anything on. And I was like, whoa, we gotta do something. We gotta like try to bring back language and try to like revitalize something. Because even like a lot of people here will say this too, like that when I speak Cree, I don't sound like I'm from Fishing Lake. But it's really interesting because if I leave this community, people will tell me like right away, like, you sound like you're from Fishing Lake, because my Cree sounds French to them, which is like hilarious because I don't hear it. But yeah, so that's why I just decided to learn one day, because like, you know, with everybody speaking English out here, like, where's all the Cree at? Like, I invested 4 years of my life to be nosy, and like I ain't gonna waste it. So that's it.
That's awesome. I feel like I can relate to that too. Like being nosy as a kid, just wanting to know what my family was saying. You know, I think that's really cool. So I'll pass it over to Stephanie to kind of answer the same question. But like, what was that? I'm trying to make it more clear. But like, what was that starting point for you to like have that like really strong connection to want to learn, and then like, you know, and kind of lead to where you're at today? But what was that starting point for you?
I think I was fortunate enough, I guess, to be surrounded by growing up here on the reserve with my cousins and stuff like that. And I don't know, I don't want to say how long ago, but a while back they had started an Algonquin immersion program in our community. And we were like one of the first ones to start attending. And the only reason why I went is because all my cousins were going, really. And then after that, it just kind of became instilled in us that our identity, our culture, our language, all of that in our was just more instilled in us. And my mom was always a teacher. She taught language here in the community as well as outside the community for Native students who went to school in the town beside us. And I think with her always being in the language, working in the language, always kind of just, I don't know how to say it, but it always just seemed to be the thing for me to do. And that's where I'm landed here today is, and she's so proud of that, where I work beside her in the language. Who would have ever thought that? But that's where I am today, working beside her. And yeah, I forget the question.
That's okay. I think that's so fun when you're like talking, those stories, like it just kind of comes out like naturally. And I think you answered that totally perfectly. It's about like, yeah, there's always that spark, I think. And that's kind of what I was trying to ask folks. And so I'll pass it over to Barry and Will. Same thing. Like, what is that initial spark or starting point for you to start learning?
For me, as I said earlier, Inuktitut was my first language, and I wasn't too good with English until a while after I moved here. And I was like never really comfortable with speaking English too much. And I thought that maybe, what if I connect with other Inuit from the city and teach them a bit of Inuktitut. And by teaching Inuktitut and my culture is always like really, I don't know how to say it, but like, so I always feel more comfortable when I connect to my language and when I'm teaching. So like, I really like to teach Inuktitut, and yeah.
Awesome. And for myself, like I remember it was actually exactly at the age of 16 years old, but it wasn't just like I woke up one day and like I wanted to learn. It was a buildup of like things that had happened in my life. And it was only until I was 16 years old when I started processing the buildup. So like, for example, like just like witnessing like a lot of abuse and addictions as a child, like really, I find it kind of, I was a troublemaker in school, like that's how I was kind of looked at. And I really felt a huge disconnect between everyone and myself because I was like the only Inuk in a school of like 1,500 students. And so like, I didn't really get it. But then another thing that I didn't really get to was like all of the abuse and the addictions I had witnessed. I didn't learn about anything until I was about 16 years old. So I had no idea that my dad had attended a residential school my entire childhood. So my entire childhood, I was kind of blind, clueless, not really understanding why there was so much hurt. But I remember like very clearly when I was 16 years old, I was in a treatment center. Someone had told me like everything that my father had experienced. And it kind of made me understand what I was experiencing. And like my first like emotion or reaction was anger. And I'm still really angry today after hearing about everything and like, all the hardships that have been put on us. But at the same time too, I've been learning to channel that anger into positive energy. And so the way that I've been doing that is through learning Inuktitut. I remember I used to have so much anger towards my father for things that he wasn't able to process, but I didn't understand what was going on. And when I had like learned about the residential school experience, and then I had kind of thought to myself like, oh, I can't imagine being through those things when I was a kid. And it started to make me realize, even though I had seen a lot, my parents also sheltered me a lot and saved me from things that they had witnessed when they were younger. And so like when all of that kind of buildup really clicked in my brain, I told myself, you know what, I'm going to call myself Northern Knowledge. Every day I'm going to learn like a piece of culture, or I'm going to learn Inuktitut. And that's going to be my focus in life now. And even to the point where like both my kids' names, I'm really proud of their names. My daughter, her name is Kukilesek, and then my son's name is Idlaut. And naming is a really big thing in Inuit culture. And so I really wanted to make sure that our names were Inuktitut names to kind of start that revitalization, I guess. And just another fun fact within Inuit culture, when names get passed down, very often like elders in our community or someone really close will be the one to name the children. So like both myself and my girlfriend, we didn't name our kids. Our family members, my girlfriend's grandfather named our son Idlaut. And then my uncle, who's basically like a grandfather to me, he named my daughter Kukilasek. And so really those names, I see it being that transitional phase. Like even my daughter now, she's learning how to speak Inuktitut. She knows a lot more than I did when I was a kid. Like me and her are learning together. And so that's kind of what keeps my spark going now. Thank you.
Miigwech for sharing, guys. Yeah, I really think like there's a lot of great like knowledge shared. I think like again, intergenerational impacts have affected folks from learning. I think about my own story, like, you know, I know that my own mom, like she knew the language, but she never taught it to me. And so like I understand there's those like layers of trauma that like have probably affected folks. And I know a lot of my cousins my age don't speak the language because it wasn't passed down, and there's reasons for that. Like I think for protection and stuff like that, and because it was, you know, outlawed to, you know, speak our languages essentially throughout all these assimilation tactics that we learn about and are part of our stories, right? So I did want to share that. I also wanted to mention too, like I think it's really important to acknowledge what Barry shared, like that a lot of folks, there's a lot of folks that you know, their indigenous language is their first language, and then when they come into urban settings, they learn English, and there's a big like barrier there too. And so for some of us, we're reconnecting, and some folks, they've always had that too. So I think that's just something to acknowledge, and I wanted to say miigwech for sharing that. I guess my next question is kind of like I think Skye mentioned it earlier about like how, I don't know, like maybe some of the folks in your community kind of like, I don't know, are maybe against you learning language, or the way that you're learning language, they're kind of like, they have things to say about it. And so I guess for young people that are trying to learn, like there's probably a sort of layer of discouragement from like maybe some people in the community. And so I'm wondering like if you guys have any like words of advice, or just like what kind of things would you say to young people that are trying to learn language that maybe feel discouraged or maybe don't even know where to start? And so maybe I'll start off with I'll go back to Will and Barry. What are some things like young learners that you'd share with people that are young people that are trying to learn that may feel discouraged or disconnected?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's kind of a long-winded question, but like what would you say to like young people who are trying to reconnect or maybe feel discouraged to learn language? What would you tell them to get them started, to get that spark going for them?
I guess I'll say kayo sinakluti. You keep trying, and I don't know how to too much answer.
Like for myself, definitely like number one, first thing, don't ever give up, even if you don't feel like you have the resources, because like that's how I started. I didn't have any resources, but I found books online, and like you know, just starting off something with as simple as the alphabet. It sounds really funny, like E pitiki gimini sili, but I didn't know how to do that when I first started, and I was 16 years old. And when I had first started, in my mind, I was like, why am I starting off with children's stuff? And in my mind, someone told me it's because you can't just skip that step. And so to start off small, don't think too far ahead. Like for me right now, I'm not even fluent in Inuktitut, but I'm really excited to share this song with you guys because it's a song that I created all in Inuktitut with Barry. And so like along the way, when I first started, not having any resources, just searching online, reading books, you know, trying to connect with any family members that I may be connected with. And that's been a really hard one. And it could be a hard one for a lot of people. And so that's what I mean is even if you have like very limited to zero resources, don't give up, start small. And the more that you kind of like go on that journey, the more that you're going to find others that are on that journey as well and that are able to support. And Barry's a perfect example of like that in my own life.
Hey Barry, you can even say it in Inuktitiut if you want to, if it's easier for you to like share. Maybe for the next question, if you want, like that's totally cool too. But I don't know if you guys wanted to share anything else about that last question.
I don't know.
I guess just the last thing I'll share is music. Music is a big thing. Even if like for me, I'm a musician, so like for me, it's like just natural to be into music. But even just like kids themselves, like my daughter, she knows how to sing "Happy Birthday" in Inuktitut, and like I know that she knows a few other songs in Inuktitut as well. And I find like, for example, just going back to that alphabet, like it's very simple, smaller children's songs, but at the same time too, it's the melody and the pattern of the what you're saying that makes it easier to pronounce words and memorize them as well.
Miigwech, Kuyanimik, I feel like, yeah, I feel the same way too for myself. Like I resonate with music, so the melody part, like if I hear a song in the language, I can pick it up a little bit easier than just trying to learn it, like just reading it or something. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of learners, even I know Gabby has mentioned too, like for her learning language, like through drum songs is a big way of learning because it's that melody, it's that different way. So Miigwech, I'm gonna pass it over to Stephanie. What are some things you'd share with young people that are looking to connect or maybe feel discouraged at this point?
I guess to just seek resources as much as you can. And that's why what I try to do is to provide opportunities like online as much as I can now. And obviously, thanks to COVID, it forced me to put more stuff online. So to reach younger people living in our community and off our community, to give them an opportunity to have a basic level of knowledge of the Algonquin language. And I really like what they just said about the music and songs. And I do believe that too, that when you put it in music and a song, it's in a rhythm and you can say words, like you break up the words and you can say them more easy and it's catchy. My mom has, she created a CD, this was a while back, of I guess nursery rhyme kind of songs. Some songs are sung to the tune of, and it's really nice to hear some of the kids in our community singing those songs. And so that's what I do in our community too here, is go into the schools and sing songs too. And it just, it kind of comes around full circle because I was in the school system, and now I'm coming back teaching what I learned. But it's never don't give up. Look for resources as much as you can. There are people out there, and I guess that's it.
Chimigwech. Yeah, there's so many resources out there. I think that's so important. And with technology and COVID, I feel like COVID has allowed folks to like slow down a bit. And even we've noticed too, like even online, we're getting more people interested in the language piece because they have that time now to join in on an evening rather than having to come from work or school over to a space to learn. I think there's more accessibility for some people. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. So Miigwech, I'll pass it over to Skye. Same thing. What would you share to young people in your community, or just any young person?
Oh, hello.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I had to get a new location. My internet decided
Oh no. Hey Skye, maybe if you turn off your camera, the audio might come out a little bit better. Just because we missed that last part you shared. Can you hear me, Skye? Okay. I think Skye's having like a little bit of technical difficulties, but like if you come back, Skye, just turn your video off and it might help with the audio if you can hear me. I'll come back to you in a few moments. But yeah, I really appreciate what everyone's been sharing, and I want to give folks the opportunity to like write questions too. So in the chat, if you have any questions you want to ask folks, we'll take a bit of time near the end of the call to go over those questions. But yeah, just type them in the chat or any comments as well. There's been a lot of great things shared so far. I think like I guess the next part I really want to get into is kind of like the how. I know a lot of you shared your stories as to why language is important and that reconnection piece. But I guess sometimes it's really good to see like how to do that, right? And a lot of you talked about, I'm just letting Skye back in here, but a lot of you talked about technology and different forms of learning. So maybe I'll pass it over back to Skye if you can hear me, Skye. Just keep your your camera off, and we'll probably hear your audio a bit better that way. And the question was like, what would you share to young people that are looking to connect or maybe feeling discouraged or not really sure where to start? Okay, well, the thing about technology is that it can also, it can be like this sometimes, I guess, but I can see you, Skye. Did you want to maybe turn off your camera and then you could just share your audio?
Okay, that could work. I think maybe I have. All right, I'll try to share my audio.
Yeah, that works. We can hear you pretty good now.
Okay, good. What was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So the question was like, what would you share to like young people in your community or just young people in general about like how can they like reconnect or like those that are kind of maybe being discouraged to learn, like what would you share with them? Any advice or anything like that?
I would say that there is so much free resources out there for languages. So much, like there's so much stuff on Facebook or Instagram that you can access for free, and you can also just go talk. I guess like one of the main things is every person who speaks an Indigenous language is a teacher. And the minute that you are getting criticized or feel like, you know, this person is just like being rude, I would say that they're not the teacher for you and that you should find somebody else because you want it to be a positive experience and you want to get something out of it. Like you're obviously in this for a reason and it should be positive. It shouldn't be like, oh, you know, this person discouraged me this one time, so I'm gonna quit language forever. Like, it should never be like that, and sometimes it is. So I say, really, just and so much more free, and that's it for me.
Language, Skye. I think that's so important. Like you need that encouragement when you're learning. My Nokomis does that really well in our language drop-in. You know, she says that no matter what, no matter if you're saying it, however you're saying it, it's good, you know, because you're learning and it's new. And I like what Will shared about, you have to go back to basics. We have to go back to like learning it from almost like a toddler type space, right? Where we're just learning, and it's kind of like we just have to be able to have a lot of humility in learning, and it's okay to mess things up or make mistakes. So you guys for sharing, Skye. So yeah, I kind of wanted to get into like the how. And so I know a lot of you folks have really cool ways of teaching. And so I was gonna pass it over to Stephanie, and I'm gonna do a share screen, and maybe I'll share the video first, and then maybe you can talk about it after, or did you want to talk about it first?
I guess you could show the video first. I don't know which one are you showing.
I was going to do the one with the animals you had mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's about a minute long. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
So I'm just going to do a quick share screen, folks. And just one moment. All right.
Wesizag, animals. Pagakwan, chicken. Pagakwanag, chickens. Rabus, rabbit. Apichi, robin. Wawashkeshi, deer. Amo, bee. Shigog, skunk. Memengue, butterfly. Krokojish, groundhog. Animush, dog. Aguingus, chipmunk.
Shaniquesh, I'll pass it over to you.
Oops. Okay, so what I have started to do, that was one of the first videos that I've ever made. And working from home on my porch during COVID. So I decided to say, okay, I'm going to start creating some videos and getting the language out there. So all these animals one day, most of them chickens from next door, a skunk. I think that was, I don't know if that was in this video. The deer, I literally beating on my porch. The deer came by and I said, okay, I'm going to start recording these and start compiling these and making language videos with them. So some of the videos that I made, usually I have a YouTube channel. So some of them I put, they're about between 15 seconds and a minute long. And I just use my iPhone. I use iMovie. I also downloaded an app called Perfect Video. And it allows you to put video, still pictures, music. It provides you with music. And if you're going to be posting stuff online, you're going to want to use your own pictures or you don't want to just take pictures off the internet. So that's why I started compiling some of my own pictures and videos. So it allows you to do voiceover. And what I really wanted to get across through the videos is more of the audio, like to listen to how I'm saying the words. And that's what I do in my job too, is record a lot of the language so you can hear it as opposed to reading it, because people can't always read it. So yeah, I made a few videos, different ones about maybe things in your kitchen, school words, family, different things like that. I also made a little segment on the YouTube channel, which was story time with Stephanie. That's what I called it. And we have produced a number of children's books in our community. And for this particular book, it was our tribal council, the Algonquin Tribal Council, who got different Algonquin communities to produce the same book in their dialect. And I asked them if I can read their book in my story time. And that's one of the videos I have also on the YouTube channel, is me reading the storybook in Algonquin. So yeah, I think there's another video that I have. I think I've done, this is, we have a vowel system. This is more of a, I guess, learning how to pronounce our words, or our vowel system. And this one was with the letter A. And I used Movely, I believe. So here we go. I think this is about maybe 30 seconds.
Anishinaabe vowel sounds, Kitigan Zibi dialect. Long and short A. The long A is pronounced as in father. Ah. Amo. Amo. B. Agim. Agim. Snowshoe. The short A is pronounced as in butter. Abui. Abui. Paddle. Amik. Amik. Beaver.
Do you mind if I share the one with the moccasin?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. I just noticed that one too. I think that's the one you were talking about.
The storybook one, yeah, it's about maybe 2-3 minutes long.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the end of the video too, I wanted to show making moccasins. So all the stories that the storybooks that I'll be reading have some sort of teaching lesson behind it.
Okay, I'll share that video too. Awesome.
Nipakigano makisinan. My moccasins. Pinawigo, Nigiaja nopaming mamawe ni Jojo, ashij nidada. Long ago, I went to the bush with my mother and father. Nidada ki chi me kije awe anokij. Kibiki we baja peach keys a smokahong. My father went on a canoe to go hunting. He came home early sunrise. Nidada kuke ki tagoshin wegije balgak. Ogi bigi wewinon ayabin. My father came back in the morning. He brought back a buck moose. Nejojo ogi pakwonan mozum ogi eshowinan mozweganon. My mother skinned the moose. She prepared the hide. Ogio jetonan nepekigano makisnan mamawe mozweganon. She made my moccasins with the moose hide. Apichka awe kikanama goya nigipi skanan nepekigano makizanan. When I went to school, I wore my moccasins. Nidangwe agnigika gwejamigog, andika odinaman, nepakigano makisanan. My friends asked me where I had gotten my moccasins. Ningienag nijojo ogi ojetonan. Minawaj ki kagwedeg aninka eje ojetoj. I told them my mother had made them. Again, they asked me how she made them. Nidada ogi nisan mozum. Ashijne Jojo Ogi Eshawinan Mosweganon Ishquayaj Ogiojatunan Nepakigano Makisinan. My father killed the moose, and my mother prepared the hide. Then she made my moccasins.
Miigwech. Is there anything else you wanted to share, Stephanie?
So yeah, that was a group effort to bring that story together. And I just brought it to life. So I didn't really have anything to do with the story, but read it and put it online, right? So, but I wanted to do something like that in a fun way for the kids at school. And I said, oh, well, let's put this on YouTube. So yeah.
Miigwech. So I shared your YouTube link and like the Algonquin language learning, just so folks can check it out. So please check it out, subscribe. And yeah, I think that's really cool. I like how you have those really animated videos and the music. I think for young people, like I think for all ages, right, we can really pick up on those basic stuff throughout it. So miigwech.
So there's another another thing that I've done. It's not on the YouTube, but on YouTube or anything, but it's on social media where I post for the month of December a winter word of the day, and I have a winter word and as well as a small short sentence that you can use with that word. I don't want people to just say one word. I want them to be able to use it in a sentence, in a everyday kind of a sentence. So that's something that's not on YouTube, but that's also.
Where can folks find that if they're interested in?
That's on my social media, my personal social media. Also, the Kitigan Zibi Cultural Center Facebook page and my Instagram. So I post them on those three places. Yeah.
Good. And it's the Kitigan Zibi Education Center?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Stephanie Tenasco.
Cultural Center, sorry.
Okay, no worries. I'm just typing these in the chat so folks have them. I'll pass it over to Skye, and I'll pull up your Cree language challenge here, but maybe you can maybe direct me as to what videos you'd like me to share. So I'll just pull it up on the screen here.
I mostly have memes,
Nice.
not too many videos.
Okay. Is there like one in particular, or maybe I could just?
I think there's like a few in Cree that are just like the best.
I'll pull up this this first one I see with the dogs, and I'll just share it.
Oh, that's from my TikTok.
Okay.
Atinsak! Astamota! Astam! Ape! Oh, Miwasin, such good learners.
I'll pull up another one here too.
So I try to teach Cree to everybody, even my dogs. Kakyo! Atimsak! Astamota! Ape! Miwasin! So I try to teach Cree to everybody, even my dog.
So I'll just kind of scroll down, but if you want to follow it on Instagram, it's the Cree Language Challenge. And yeah, there's a lot of cool memes in here, pretty funny stuff. I like that Skye uses a lot of humor as well in language learning too. I think that's really important. So I'll just pull up some of these memes here. So I don't know if you want to talk about these memes. I'll just kind of pull them up. Maybe you can talk a bit about what they mean and why you made them, maybe.
All right. I made them because they make me laugh. So if I feel like they make me laugh, then they're gonna make somebody else laugh.
Mm.
And then I think most of the time I try to put the English translations in there. Sometimes I don't. Kind of just depends, I guess, how I feel.
So the word is that kisa stu?
Kisa steo. And that means like I'm hot. So that's there's like a little fire emoji. And then I think there's like another one that's kisin.
This one here? Okay, I'll pull up this one too. Gabby's gonna help me pick the good ones here. I mean, they're all good, but yeah. Can you talk about this one a little bit? Well, no, I think we lost Skye. Okay, well, I just want to be mindful that that Skye is having a bit of technical difficulties because they are out in Fishing Lake, way out in the bush there. But maybe Gab can kind of help me out here a little bit.
No, I was just
that
Tansei ni totem. That one's pretty funny. Yeah, that's just like saying like it's just like saying like, hey friend, or like relative. What's another cool one? Oh, this one's cute too. Oh, this one. Ni mama wanaska nia namoya. So that's like a Cree song. And so like it's usually like you sing that together. So that's why, and like, see, obviously I laughed at it because I thought it was really funny. But it's like a song that usually one person would sing. But like so many people know that song out where Skye is. And so like if one person starts singing the song, like everyone just starts singing the song. So that's kind of like what's happening there. What else? Oh, cool. Cree parenting words. Astam. So astam ota is like, astam you'll like always, that's like one of the first words you'll ever learn in Cree. It's like come here. It's like a command.
I'm not even Cree and I know that.
Yeah. Astam, what's it in Ojibwe?
Ambe.
Ambe, yeah. So those are like yeah, definitely parenting words you hear, commands. Yeah, nice. Cool. What else we got on here? So Minos is a cat. Ever cute Sailor Moon. It's like a little cat. Nice. Like you know when like the cats are always trying to wake you up in the morning. But one of Skye is like wake up, or like it kind of sounds rude, but it's not. Like so it's even like it's just like acknowledging like it's time to get up. Yeah, there's a lot of like I find that when you can learn like Ojibwe, you can also read Cree pretty good. And so like there's like a lot of differences between like Cree and Ojibwe, but like having a starting place at least will help you, at least in my experience, helps you like read or like even pick up on other dialects that are really closely related. So yeah, so like for example, like mio is like good, or like and then so like in Ojibwe it's minnow. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. It was the COVID instructions.
Yeah.
Nice.
Alberta Health Services in Cree.
Nice. I really love like reading language, and then like in my head, and then I'll read it out loud, and it feels cool to read language sometimes. Nice. Skye's back.
Nice. Skye's back. Thanks, Gab. Hey, Skye.
They're still
joining in. Okay. So make sure to follow Cree Language Challenge on Instagram, as well as TikTok. Cree Language Challenge. I believe it's the same account. And then Skye's personal is here. I guess it'd be okay with you following them, but I've been following this page for a little while too, and yeah, it's really great. And it's like, I think for young people, memes are a huge way of, it's its own language in itself. And so,
that one.
Which one?
How do you say social distance in Cree?
Oh. Hey, Skye, do you want to talk about this one? I think you're back.
Hey, yes, I'm back. Apparently, like when I just want to talk, my like phone just like wants to explode and not let me talk. Yeah, so I don't think that's how you say it, but that's just how I said it. And nobody ever corrected it, or was, because usually I have critics who are like, that's not how you say it. And I just like left it and nobody said anything. So I was like, ha 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 ha. And I also seen it somewhere else and I was like, this isn't facts. This is just like me messing around. So yeah. So I had fun making that one. Because everybody was asking me like, how do you say social distance in Korea? I was like, I don't know. A what? That's how I would say it.
So you got a whole bunch here. Like, what's like your favorite meme that you've made? Is it easy to find?
I think it's like those old white guys there. Okay, so like where they're laughing.
Oh.
I think that's like one of my favorites. It's like we always talk.
Yeah, I think your audio is cutting out again, Skye. But folks, take this one in. I think for Indigenous folks, poop humor is always it's pretty common in our languages.
Poops and farts.
Poops and farts. But like I said, follow Cree Language Challenge.
I have a funny story about farts.
Hey, Skye, did you want to just finish sharing about this this meme if you can hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was just kind of like a joke that we had. So like Takawgak is 7, but every time like you say it, or if you're not like really good with your Cree, it sounds like you're saying take a poop. So we're like always like killing ourselves laughing for like no reason. Like it's not like anything like crazy. It's just literally like the number 7.
Oh. Right. So folks can follow you like on Instagram, as well as, I don't know if I'll be able to pull up your TikTok, but what is the TikTok to follow?
Oh, it's like under the same name.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just me yelling at my dog, so.
Is there anything else you wanted to share, like about like do you do any like language teaching like in the community, and like yeah, is there any other ways that you're teaching the language that you want to talk about?
I don't run classes. I should, but I don't. But I do like do workshops for like, I did one for Think Indigenous in Edmonton, and I was like teaching people Cree physical literacy. So I like created a bunch of little Cree games for fun. And like I also teach them to like youth and fishing lakes. So just like little things like that. But I don't do classes. I think if I had like enough people ask me, I would. But I just haven't had like a whole lot of people be like, you know what, we need to learn from you. And I'm not fluent, so I'm not, my self-esteem isn't high enough for me to teach. So I just like make these things, and then I'm like, one day I'll teach class, but not today.
You go, Skye. I think like, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think like one day you're going to be teaching Cree to all those youths, because you're already doing it, right? So, and it's in these cool ways. But Gabby wanted to share a story before we pass it over.
It's not like a big story. I was just gonna share, like, we're doing language class, Ojibwe, like on last Thursday.
Yeah.
And so we're like starting to now like kind of translate English words into Anishinaabe one. And so one of the sentences was, the squirrel ran up the tree. And so I started looking in the dictionary for the word run, and there was like all these different ways to say run. Like there must have been like 50 different ways. And then of course there was like a specific word that was for farting while running. And we just like laughed so hard.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes back to that meme you shared about how you say that word over and over. I think like there's always some form of like fart humor in language learning. But I just want to say miigwech Skye for sharing, and I shared the Cree language challenge. So follow Skye on TikTok and Instagram to learn more Cree. And I'm gonna pass it over to Barry and Will to talk a bit about the stuff they're doing with Inuktitiut. So miigwech.
Hey everybody. Well, I'll say a little bit, Barry will say a little bit, then we'll kind of, I guess, we'll show you guys a little bit of what we do. But everything that we do, I'd say like it's really a whole like team effort of making it happen. But once again, like 90% of it going to Barry with all of the translations and the pronouncing, and him being patient with me when I'm making all those mistakes. So, but yeah, if you want to share just a little bit about what you do, and I'll share what I do.
I really like to teach Inuktitut. And we have a few pages we have a few pages that I might share later, and it's all about the tools that you use during before relocation, and also the stuff we use for survival.
So like in short, like we do different workshops, performances, presentations. One example of something that we did through when the peak of the pandemic, the lockdown, when nobody had any idea of what was going on, both Barry and I were both in our homes, and we created like an 8-week Inuktitiut program for youth to come in. Like we had games that we would play in the Zoom sessions. Like everyone was just at home and on Zoom. That was when everybody had to stay home. And like that kept us really busy. Like we've been working on like this translations book. We're still in the beginning process, but we've got like 10 or 15 pages of it now. But like that's through the workshops that we created. Another way is through presentations. So for example, what Barry was saying, we created different types of presentations. One of them, Sanaguti, which Barry's going to share a little bit about. Another one called Inusik, which means life. But really, every time I work on a project for myself personally, I always name the project in Inuktitut. Earlier in this session, I was talking about how naming in Inuit culture is a really big thing. And so like, for example, I give my kids, they have Inuktitut names. All of our workshops have Inuktitut names. Most of our major projects, Inuktitut names. My first album that I ever released is called Kivi Swituk, which means resilience or the one who never gives up. We released another album called Kayusi, which means moving forward. Our team is working on an album right now. This is like a 9-month project that we're working on. And it's a really cool one because we're adding in Inuktitiut music. We're doing our own recordings, making music videos, like all of that kind of stuff. But the album, it's called Piliri Katigingnik, which is, it's one of the 8 IQ principles. Which, the IQ principles, they're very similar to the 7 grandfather teachings, except it's within Inuit culture. And so it's one of the 8 IQ principles, Piliri Katigingnik, and it means working together for a common cause. And so like really naming each of my projects in Inuktitiut, that kind of helps to ground where the project's gonna go, I guess. And with that being said, just before I pass it over to Barry, I have a song that I want to share with you guys. Barry translated the song and he taught me how to pronounce it. It's on like iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere. The significance of the song is that for myself growing up, I never knew how to speak Inuktitut. And this is the first song that I created that's only using Inuktitut. And so it's like really, this has been like part of like reclaiming and relearning my language of Inuktitut. So I'll share the song with you guys and then I'll translate it and then I'll pass it over to Barry to talk about some of the amazing stuff that he does. Sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, katalangitunga. Kataguma, makika nilniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusi nagniyatunga, katak saktao tilunga, ukalao siriao gluti tilunga lu. Nguyu, pina swati lunga, katak sakta lunga, kanwima, piyunatanim, pina suti lunga, kisiani, taikwa, katak sai mata, alaniku, sapi lumaka tatunga, sukai, tamaning mutang nitunga, haswila, kayi lunga, taimana, inu twinagama, Kubya supunga, inu twinagama, inu katika nelsimayu, ama, inu katika tukuliktu. Sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, katalangitunga. Kataguma, makika nilniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusi, inu kati tigu, imi nilni, piku silgi nitavu, piliriyatunga, tana, piu tigi lugu sapi liang nitunga, inu katika, Tautu twina huna ngitaka, ayu lilik tilugi, anyak tilu, ipi gila miyaga, anya, kayu sinaglu, sapi lilak sima tailagi. Sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga, katalangitunga, kataguma, makika nilniyatunga, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnatuk, sapilgnia nitunga, sapilgnatuk, kayusin nagniyatunga. That song is called Sapilgnatuk. And so I'll quickly just translate that for you guys, just to give you an idea of what I was talking about in that song. So Sapilgnatuk means it's really hard in the context of life. Like it's basically like saying life is really hard. And the purpose of the song is like, no matter how like, you know, life could be really hard, but it's to never give up and it's to always move forward in a positive way. So it's like, Sapilgnatuk, Sapilgniyangitunga. Life is really hard, but I won't give up. Sapilgnatuk, Kayusinagniyatunga. Life is really hard, but I'm going to keep on moving forward. Katalangitunga, Kataguma, Makikanilniyatunga. I'm not going to fall down, but if I do fall down, that's okay because I'm going to get back up and I'm going to keep on moving. And really, in short, that's kind of like what I'm talking about in the song. Barry helped me to translate the entire song. He taught me how to pronounce the entire song. Him and I, we recorded it together and he made sure that I was pronouncing things properly. And so I'm like really lucky to have a really good friend who's been able to support me on this journey. Going back to that, like music is how I'm able to learn Inuktitiut the best. And also through the presentations that we like do within the community. And I'm going to pass it over to Barry because he's going to show you guys an example of kind of how we add Inuktitiut into our presentations.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share. Can you see it? Okay, the workshop, we call it Sanakoti, and Sanakoti means tools, and pretty much everything is pretty much made out of different animals and different tools from the animals. And I think I'm going to start from Kamutik. And Kamutik is a sled that is used for hunting and usually used for when we're traveling with our dog sled. And traditionally, the Kamutik would be made out of different animal bones. For example, the skis would be made out of the skis would be made out of bowhead whale. No, I mean narwhal tusk and other bones for the other parts. It's like there's like different pieces, and they're all stick together by there's a harp seal that that kind of makes a rope, or like because the harp seal skin had the stretchiest skin, and the bag would be made out of different animal skins. For example, like seal skin or caribou skin. So yeah, and then the next one. Oh wait, once again, Kamutik sled. And the next one is a kayak, and kayak is kayak. The kayak would usually be used for when we're hunting or when we're traveling. It was mainly used by our brothers or fathers because they were usually the ones who take the lead in the kayak. And on the inside, we'd have our tools, like our bags. We'd have our bags in there and food and other stuff. And then also sometimes they'd be traveling with the whole family. They would put their children in there. And traditionally, the kayak would be made out of different animal bones, like narwhal tusk for like the inside part. It's like bones maybe, and the outside part would be made out of sealskin, and our mothers would be the ones to sew them together because I forgot. Wait. And then I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay. You can just refresh your time. Even if you want to go to the next one.
Okay. Yeah, but the main reason for kayak was for the men to be strong and to stay active.
Just a little bit from like what we're going off with this presentation, like we really focus on like talking about the tools and then translating them. And we don't just talk about the tools too, we talk about the importance of hunting and how each part of the animal is used to like provide for our communities. And so like one example is we might talk about tuktu, caribou, and how like for me and my community, in our traditional way of life, tuktu was our main source of food, but it was also very much sometimes our only source of food. And so as Inuit, whenever the tuktu herd would migrate and whenever they would move, we would also migrate, we would move, we would follow the tuktu because that was our way of being able to survive. And so like within the workshop, like we won't go through the whole thing, but just to give you guys an idea is that we'll talk about the tools and how they're created and how we use each part of the animals to be able to create the tools. Like for example, like with animals, like we eat the food from the animal, we make our clothing from the animal, and then we also like make our tools from the animal. So every single part of the animal is used to provide for a member of our community. And we really push the importance of that. And like throughout the presentation, we just translate little things from here, like here to there. Like for example, kamatik, sled, like how Barry was saying, tuktu, caribou, just I guess random things like that. So I think that's what we were going for, really, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take down the screen share. You have anything else you wanted to add to that?
No.
No. But yeah, so we started this in October, the Inuktitiut workshop, and we've had some really good practice now. We've probably done it like 10 times. We've got a lot of people that are like getting us involved with it. So the more that we practice, like the way that we have it planned out is that by the end of our Inuktitiut virtual tour, we'll have everything memorized and like kind of be more focused into it. So like we started this in October and we've been working at it pretty much every week since then. Thank you guys for listening.
Miigwech. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that was so awesome. It was so great to hear from everyone, and like it's so cool how everyone's doing things a little bit differently, but it's all about like community. It's all about like easing folks into it, and also like yeah, just like learning from each other. I really like that you guys do that together, and everyone else seems like they're working in a team or like they're learning from each other, right? So some of the themes I heard tonight were healing, learning for the future generations, reconnection, intergenerational learning. I've heard a lot of like don't give up, and that there's a lot of resources out there and a lot of them are free. And so I think like tonight, when we think about a grassroots revitalization, we know the grassroots is the people on the ground, and like we're all kind of doing this work, and revitalization is a big part of like the work we do all around, not just language but everything else. But I think going back to what Skye mentioned earlier, I think language is like the heart of it, and it's like the world view. And so I just wanted to acknowledge everyone for sharing tonight. I think we're going to wrap up the live part of this. And so again, I want to say miigwech for sharing tonight, and I really appreciate it.